Hey everybody, it's time for 10 of 10. Really it's your Sadie, talking to a friend. She asked him 10 questions, they give her 10 replies. Hopefully you'll learn how Casey really thrives. The purpose of the session is to make Casey connections. 10 of 10, 10, 10. The purpose of the session is to make Casey connections. 10 of 10, 10, 10.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yes.
Welcome.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
So
That's so cool.
I know I have a theme song. It's amazing. But tell me who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, my name professionally is Khalif J. Gillett. I am an actor, writer, director, photographer, graphic artist, content creator. I just like to always add on a new thing on the hyphenate. So yeah, I do all the things except play an instrument. I don't do that. So
It's okay. You have an eternity to learn one.
yes,
All right, here are your questions. You ready?
yes, I am.
All right. Number one, started off easy. How did you first become involved in the arts?
Ooh, how did I first become involved in the arts? Um, hmm. I think I always have been sort of into doing art. I started drawing when I was like 4. My mom taught me how to draw. I found like this old drawing that she had. Like she keeps like all her stuff like in these containers where it's just like memories worth of stuff because she's like from the time period where people actually value keeping like paper things and like tangible things. So I found this drawing that she made of this woman in like a fur boa and like she had on this like watch and she just looked very glamorous and I wanted to learn how to draw that and my mom she taught me how to draw.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I totally feel that, like saving papers and things like that. I don't know what happened to me, but like I'm kind of a hoarder of papers and I still have all of my notes from high school, like
Oh
in a box
gosh.
at my parents' house. And my mom's like, you need to get rid of all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, they're fun to read.
That's how I try to be, but like now because I moved around so much the past couple of years, things started getting messed up. Like my grad school notebooks, some of them got a little water on them, and I was like, I can't do this, so I digitized all of them.
Oh my
So now all
God.
my grad school notebooks are digitized. Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I need to do that. Although I feel like anything from my youth that is digitized that people like could hack into and get, like I would be so scared.
It's like they can't find out my innermost 12-year-old thoughts.
Oh my gosh. Okay, question number two. Among all the things that you've done, can you tell me a little bit about your project Spilled Milk and how you created it?
Yes. So my project Spilled Milk. Spilled Milk is a 6-person choreo poem play. It is about a poet named Bobby who suffers from anxiety and depression. And after um, 2 years in college, he's like at this point where he starts having like suicidal thoughts and stuff. And so he writes his own funeral repast. He writes his own funeral repast as if he committed suicide. And the play is framed as he did commit suicide, yet he is the MC of his own like funeral basically. And he's trying to make it seem like it won't be so bad for the people that he left behind. So he tries to make all of their emotions and words into like all these beautiful poems and spoken word pieces. But as the play progresses, the writing starts to like get out of hand and it starts to become more heavier emotions than he wants it to be, and his writings start to almost become like more realistic and they start speaking to him as his friends. And yeah, it's like an exploration of grief. And how I started writing that, it goes all the way back to high school. Um, Thanks to budget cuts, our drama teacher, we did a musical the previous year. In like my senior year, I was like, we should do another musical. And he was basically like, if you can write a musical, we can do a musical. And so I wrote this like terrible, terrible musical based on an MTV show of that time called If You Really Knew Me. and it was just a bunch of like teenagers in a gym, like being like, "You think I'm a cheerleader, but I'm more than that." And so I wrote this musical based on that. It was like different cliques and stuff, and it was very High School Musical, people jumping on tables, and like it was so bad. But like I put that down, and then almost towards the end of undergrad, I went to a coffee shop with my friend. I was like, "Let me look at this again," and I turned it into a play, and that ended up being Spilled Milk.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
when you were in grad school and you did your was it also part of your creative contract that you did?
Um, there was a piece in the creative contract that was a cut poem from Spilled Milk. And so yes and no in that sense. There was a small piece of Spilled Milk in there, but it ended up not being in the production that I did in New York of Spilled Milk. So it belongs to the creative contract now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 3. Who inspires you?
Ooh, who
I
inspires me?
know, we get deep on this
I
program.
know. I think currently I'm inspired by, excuse me, the like writer actors who like made their own way because people weren't giving them the way that they actually wanted. So that's like Issa Rae creating like the trope of the awkward black girl, and then that turned into like Insecure and all of that. And that's Rachel Bloom creating Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, so she could see someone like her be like a romantic lead in a rom-com musical, and like Rami Malek for Rami, and Donald Glover in Atlanta. And so all of these like writer actors who they're just like, I'm gonna write it, I'm gonna star in it, I'm gonna produce it, and make it into like a thing so that people see me the way I want them to see me. I'm inspired by those people.
Amazing. Do you feel like that's like a direction that you want to go since you're such a multifaceted I don't even want to say artist, just like because what you do is like on such an extreme level. It's like I feel like Khalif, you could be your own entire theater company in one. Like it's kind of it's like an artistic enigma. That's what I want to call
Yes, that's definitely the direction that I want to go. I've spent quarantine writing a series that I play the lead in, and it's loosely based on my experiences in undergrad. And just because mental health for POC communities is like a theme that runs through most of my work, so it deals with all of that, and I play the main character. And I wanted to like test out what it would be like to have a writer's room. So this summer I assembled a writer's room of like 5 people, and like I broke the whole season, and I was like, all right, here's the outline of the season. What episode are you interested in writing? And so I had like 5 different people writing different episodes throughout this season. And like now that we know what happens in the season, I went back and I'm just working on strengthening the pilot, and like I've had like table reads and stuff like that for it. And it's been really cool to be like, this is a character that I made, and I can have him be as outrageous as I want, or I can have him be as like poetic and like broody as I want, and like it's amazing.
awesome. All right, question number 4. If you could work with any director or theater company in Kansas City, who would it be and why?
Hmm. I think I would want to work because I've gotten to work with some pretty cool people in Kansas City. I think I would want to work with Nedra Dixon though. I've heard great things about her, and I'm like, I've gotten to like act in like a workshop with her, but I want to be directed by her and have like a vision with her in there. But then also, I would want to maybe have it be a show with Casey Rep, because I haven't gotten to do a show with Casey Rep outside of grad school, so that would be pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, I remember I saw her in Frank Higgins' Black Pearl Sings, and she was in it with Vanessa Severo, and Victor Tan did the lighting. And honestly, like when people ask me what are some of my most memorable shows that I've seen in Kansas City, that's it. Like the power behind her is like the craziest thing ever. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, I kind of fangirl a lot. Like when there's somebody that I'm excited about and I haven't met them yet in person, I'm always like very nervous to talk to them. And I remember talking to her for the very first time way after that. And I was just like sitting there, like listening to her talk. And I was like, just like, oh, so
Yes.
cool.
That's amazing.
She's awesome. All right, number 5. This kind of tied into what you were talking about before, but what do you want the next step in your career to be? Like, what do you envision for yourself as Khalif? Like, what is next?
I think next I want to somehow be a traveling artist. Like I would love to like have like my home base, but then like get to go here for a couple weeks and do a project, and get to go here for a couple weeks and like teach a seminar, get to direct a show over there, act in a show over there. I would just love to like get to go to all of these different places, get to return home, but then get to go to all of these different places and like experience new places for my career and go international. I would love to get to go to London again and like work there or some other country. Um, yeah, I want to travel.
Do you have like a bucket list of cities right now?
Ooh, sort of. I've always, and I don't know what it is, wanted to go to Australia since I was like in high school or middle school. I don't know why, but I've always wanted to go to Australia. Italy, I really want to go to Italy. Um, ooh, where else? I don't know. There's so many places that I want to go and I want to see.
The world is your oyster.
Yes.
You can do anything. That's me being a professor right now. Just like, you can do it all.
You know, inaudible.
I think that's great though, because like, uh, I think that what we do here in Kansas City and like the way that we as young people in Kansas City have learned about the power of collaboration and arts in general in the city, I think that really sometimes keeps people here, right? And we get locked into KC, but at the same time, I think that it also teaches us that we can get out of the bubble, and sometimes people don't take the chance to do that. So I'm excited to hear that like that's something that you want to do, because I don't think that Kansas City should just like hear your voice and see your stuff. Like you do need to be getting out there to other places and spreading it around. So
Definitely.
in terms of Kansas City, you were here, what, 3 years, 4 years before, and you're still like kind of in Kansas City now. So are you basing here in Kansas City still, or you're in Vegas right now? What's the deal?
Yeah, I'm in Vegas right now because like my just track of moving got so weird because I was planning on after graduating, I was planning on going to New York and like I went out there. I graduated in June 2019. August 2019, I went to New York for a month and I was like, let me see how it is. And then I was gonna come back to KC for a show, but right before I left New York to come back to KC for my first show, I got an offer for a second show to do. So two back to back in Kansas City. And then after those two shows, I was like, all right, it's time to go to New York. I've been wanting to do this since I was in undergrad. And so January of this year, I was like, I'm moving to New York. And then March happened and I was like,
I'm not
going
moving
back
to
to
New
Vegas.
York.
I'm going back to Vegas. But it was like in my time being there, it made me realize what was important to me as an artist, just because I got those two different landscapes back to back, Kansas City and New York. And I was like, I like the slower pace of Kansas City and the accessibility of resources and collaborators. But then also in New York, it was cool for it to just be like the grind and the hustle of it and things move fast. But coming back to Vegas because of quarantine and doing all of this work online and over Zoom and collaborating that way, I realized this was the first time ever since I've been doing theater that I've gotten to have career and family at the same time. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
this was a really cool feeling. And so I was like, I'm still able to do this work remotely, to some degree. And if I really need to, I can get on a plane, like once quarantine is over, I can get on a plane and go to somewhere. And so I'm like, maybe my home base can be with my family, and then I can just go to Kansas City if I have to do a project there, or to New York if I have to do something there, or wherever. And so I think I'm digging just being with my family right now, and like maybe like just traveling for different projects. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and I think it's like it's so important to just like your work-life balance too, is because when you're not around family, it's really easy to just get so consumed by the work. But then when
Yeah.
your family's there, like at your fingertips, it's like, okay, well, yeah, like you can take the weekend and take your nieces and nephews out to wherever they want to go, but then you can, on Monday, you can still be doing your 9 to 5, trying to hustle the theater things that you're trying to do. I
Yeah.
know that's for me, that's really hard because my family's in Pittsburgh and I've been in Kansas City for 11 years.
Oh
So,
wow.
like, some of that's like kind of neglected, right?
Yeah.
Because I've been dedicating time to the work.
Right.
Um, but you can really do what we do anywhere. And that's kind of the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, like going back to you going back and forth between Kansas City and New York, not everyone gets that opportunity, and like not everyone commits to it. Not everyone gets themselves out there to do it. So, what did you notice, like being in New York City? What is the biggest thing that you noticed that was different producing theater in New York, and how it differs from the way that it works in Kansas City?
Um. I think just in being new in the city was kind of weird because it's like there isn't always a backup plan of resources. It's like I feel like if I was in Kansas City, if we couldn't afford to rehearse in this big rehearsal hall, we could be like, well, let's go to this person's apartment and like rehearse, or let's like rent a room at like our school and like go and do that. In New York, it was like we can't afford anywhere to rehearse. It's January, we can't do it outside. So I guess rehearsal is canceled today.
Oh
um,
man.
and so it was that was really interesting, but then also like I, I don't I don't know, it was interesting like working in a sort of like Rent the musical fashion where it's like we're doing this for the art, nobody is getting paid at all because we don't have a budget for that, and so it's like we're trying to navigate this huge city and just doing it for free basically. um, Um, yeah, so I don't know what how to explain like how it was different. It was just without I don't have a backup plan. I don't have like a favor I can call in New York and be like, "Do you mind if we rehearse in your space here?" And so it was just staying on my toes and trying to be flexible and not dissolving into a puddle of panic. And then also like trying to invite people to come and see this show. It's like I don't know many people in New York, and so it's like I guess I could just be like, hey, cast member, tell your friends to come see this. I mean, I luckily had some people from KC who came and saw the show, but like not many. And so that was also interesting trying to like hustle in that way when you don't have any connections anymore. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's like such a valuable lesson though, like especially if you're going to go from city to city to city, like that's such a great learning experience because when you are in Kansas City, we're so connected to each other.
Yeah.
Like we're such a close-knit fabric. And when you don't have your fabric, it's like, okay, well, like, how do I create that wherever I am, city to city? I think that's something that I think that all of us as artists, like, we can start to work on is like, instead of just doing it city by city, how do we make this national fabric of
Yeah.
like, how do we blend people who we know from Seattle or Albuquerque or Vegas and like make sure that that connection isn't just I know what's going on in my city and that's it. How do
Yeah.
we make sure we know what's going on everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. And that definitely came in handy because like Zach remotely did the sound design for Spilled Milk in New York, and so I was like, I still got like my connection over in Seattle. It's like, help me. But then also like it was cool to see some KC people like in the audience, like who I either didn't know was coming or like they surprised me, and that was a really cool feeling as well. Being like we are in small pockets in these different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, so this is a more of an actory question.
Ooh, okay.
What is your dream role?
Ooh. Mm, I don't know. Ooh. I feel like I would have different things for different avenues. Like if it was in Shakespeare, I feel like my dream role would probably be like Romeo and Romeo and Juliet, or Mercutio. But then like for film, I really want to do like an indie sort of like coming of age style film. Like I love those type of movies. And I would love to do something like that, where it's just like a bunch of shots of me like looking broody at the sunlight, and it's like there's just so much happening here, and like it's like very intense moments. I want to do something with A24. I don't know if that counts as a dream role, but I want to do something that A24 produces, TV show or movie. Um, so yeah, something that hasn't been written yet, something that's an original character, and even if it is in theater, I would love to originate a role that just becomes like iconic, where it's like, how can you do that role without doing that like triple twirl that Khalif did when he originated? It's like it's just a staple, and so yeah.
Like I can just see it like your name, like Khalif and a
Yes,
brood.
yes. Oh, that'd be beautiful. Some Call Me by Your Name stuff would be excellent.
Oh, I love it. Uh, all right, next question. What is your technique for memorizing lines?
Ooh. So this is like really weird because like I can sometimes be a real procrastinator, but because I know that about myself, I've developed just like techniques to help with that. And so like everybody in my cohort in grad school, they would get mad at me because they're like, we have to memorize all this stuff like by this day, and like the day before or the morning of, I'll come in and have it fully memorized, and I just started that morning because I memorized so fast. Um,
Oh my
and
God.
so my way of memorizing stuff is to read through it a couple times and figure out the thought process so that it almost feels like improv. And so it's like this thought, this is what this line means, and this is the thought behind it. And so if I can create that mental map and make my mind, when I say this word, it makes me think of a train. And I know on the next line he says chugga chugga choo choo. And so it's like it sounds more complicated than it is, but it's just the way that my mind works. I create like a mind map through my lines so that it feels like improv, and yeah, yeah,
That's
and then
all
I just
like,
match up the words.
because here's the thing. As a stage manager and a complete non-actor, it is always like shocking to me that you guys can memorize lines, because and at the same time, as a stage manager, we're always getting on people's case of like, well, why don't you memorize your lines, or here's your stack of line notes, you jerk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but as a stage manager, I'm always just, how? That's because for me, I'm just not an actor. And it just seems like such a hugely difficult, monumentous task, especially in Shakespeare when it's like practically a different language, you know?
Yeah, I think though the hardest show I've had to memorize was Go Please Go. Because that was like a two-person show with like other characters who came in at different times, and like there were like time skips of like 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 years, 50 years, and like trying to be like, okay, I'm angry in this scene, and then I'm asking about orange juice. And how do you make a mind map of that, of it being like we're arguing about a baby, and then being like, did we get orange juice? That was the most difficult thing ever.
Because, like, yeah, I guess you're right. Like, the way that we think about things, even in our subconscious, you know, like, well, I feel like that play was very much of the subconscious, of like you you don't really know where your thoughts are ever going to take you in that sense. But for most plays, it's going to have an order, it's going to have a flow, but that show just didn't.
It was a beast.
It was an interesting show.
Yes, but I got to learn the Canadian national anthem because of that show.
You know what? There you go. You know what? You find a skill in whatever you work on, and now you'll always have it, or you can just forget
Exactly.
it.
True.
All right, we only have one question left.
Oh no.
I know, I could talk to you for days.
I know, I love this.
We might have to have Khalif part 2.
Yes, please.
So the last question is, what is the best piece of advice that you have received? And what is the best piece of advice that you would give to somebody?
The best piece of advice that I have received. Oh man.
I know, it's a hard question.
I know. I'm trying to pinpoint that. I'm like, all right, who has given me more advice? I can't say for sure that this is the best because I can't organize my thoughts quick enough. But this is a great piece of advice that I got. It was the first week of grad school, and Carla Nowak was like, "I challenge you to look people in the eye more." And like, because I was just like very nervous about staring people in the eye. I'd always find ways to like look away and stuff. But now I'm like that weird person that sometimes creeps people out because I like will stare them right in the eye when I'm like looking at them. And it's just like, okay. But because of that, like human connection just feels deeper. And like, I feel like I'm a better listener because of that. And that helps like on and off stage. And it just helps you to like see people better. And a piece of advice that I could give to someone, I think something that I've been thinking about a lot over quarantine is like, what does it mean to find yourself? Because I feel people say that a lot to actors and just to people in general is like, find yourself and find who you are. And I always used to think that was like, like an active search where I'm like, all right, I have to keep trying out different things. Let me try these earrings, or let me try this nail color, or like these type of clothes. So like, see if this is me and find this. But then after a while, I realized that finding yourself, at least for me, just means um, doing what makes me happy and letting the things that bring me joy just in and express that fully. Like if I want a bowl of Fruity Pebbles cereal today, like that's what I'm gonna have. I don't care if it's a cereal marketed to children. That's what I'm gonna have. If I want to watch cartoons today, that's okay. Or if I want to, listen to some Tupac one day, if that brings me joy, that's fine as well. Or Broadway the next day, that's fine as well because it brings me joy. And then eventually you start to realize, oh, so I'm the type of person that likes Fruity Pebbles and Tupac. And it's like, that's who you are because you just found that that's the thing that brings you joy, or this is the thing that doesn't bring you joy. So you like just don't really care to do that as much. And so I feel like that's a good way to find who you are, is find what brings you joy and what doesn't.
Is it weird if I tell you that I like peanut butter Captain Crunch and Tupac?
I mean, it's a little weird just because I hate peanut butter as an ingredient in anything else besides a sandwich. I hate peanut butter like anywhere else unless it's in a sandwich. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but like peanut butter cookies, peanut butter cake, peanut butter cereal, I have a vendetta against all of those. I don't know what it is.
Fine. You know what? I can get on the Fruity Pebbles train, but that wouldn't be me. See, I
Exactly.
need
That doesn't bring you joy. But I can't yuck your yum. So peanut butter crunch is your yum. I will not yuck your yum.
Oh my gosh, I just had a great idea. I think that we need to make an episode of something where we take like 10 of our friends, just random friends, and we go to the cereal aisle and we do a social experiment over cereal. Like we're all gonna stand in the cereal aisle and you're gonna grab what's your box.
Yes, my box is Cinnamon Life.
Oh.
Cinnamon Life is my box. Yeah, I love life.
You know what? I think I would still stick with peanut butter Captain Crunch because it has like this nostalgia thing that I'm all about.
Yes. No, weirdly, the nostalgia one, because I have cereals for different things. Like
Oh,
Cinnamon Life is the one where I'm like, I need to like feel light, but also want some cereal. But then like the nostalgia one for me would have to either be honeycombs or honey bunches of oats with almonds.
hmm.
Yeah, that's the one my grandma always has in her pantry. So
Well,
honey
see, and
bunches
this
of
is
oats with
the thing.
almonds.
It's like cereal. Now we can have a whole discussion about cereal. Like this could be a thing that we continue because I feel like your cereal story is very telling about who you are as a human.
Right? There should be just like a one person show that the story is told through cereals in the cereal aisle. It'd be like, man, Apple Jacks. I remember when I skinned my knee in the 5th grade.
Oh my gosh, I think that we just
Incredible.
found a new project. As if you're not busy
Yes.
enough. But I love talking to you, Khalif, and
I
I
love
need
talking
to
to you
talk to
too.
you because it like makes me feel happy. I love when you stop by my office and everything. But
Yes.
enough of me talking. So now it is your time because you survived all the questions. So
Yes, I did.
you have the floor. Whatever you want to talk about, whether it's you or a piece you're working on or your favorite artist or whatever, telling people to vote, whatever you want to talk about, now is your time.
Ooh, okay. What do I want to talk about? Um, I think my favorite artist right now, because I was watching a music video right before getting on this Zoom call. My favorite music artist right now, one is Jessie Reyes, Colombian Canadian artist. She's incredible, and the other is Chloe and Halle. Chloe and Halle are incredible to me. Like they never disappoint. And they've been creating all of these live music videos on the tennis court in their backyard during quarantine, and they're just phenomenal. These girls are amazing, and Hallie of the Chloe and Halle is playing Ariel in the Little Mermaid live action Disney movie,
Oh
and
my
so
God.
they're incredible.
They
Yeah.
have like the most amazing clothes. Like
Yes.
I just want like I am not a fashion person at all. Like worst style ever. Like please someone if you're out there help me, dear God. But yeah, like I look at what they're wearing and I'm like, gosh, those are such interesting pieces of clothing. Like
Yes.
do they get styled, do you think, or do you think that they pick it on their own? I feel
I
like
feel
they pick
like
it on their own.
Yeah, I feel like it's a hybrid. It's like these are the vibes that we're feeling, and they get like some amazing stylists to just be like, all right, we're gonna realize this vision that you have. I mean, you gotta have an intense style to match the vocal artistry that they bring.
Yeah. It's so interesting, like the way that they harmonize and just the way that they sing together, I think is really cool. And I like don't know a lot of like newer artists, so but I do know them. And like I think it's like it's one thing to just like be able to sing in a group. Like, I don't know, like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever pop group or whatever group that sings together. I would give you a terrible reference, so I'm not going to do it. And it would also age me, so
TLC.
it's not gonna happen. But there's something about a duo and the way that they can collaborate that's super impressive to me. I just love it.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
All right, Khalif. Well, our time is done. It's been wonderful. I'm serious. We might have to do a Khalif part 2 just because
I'm
I
down
have
for
so many questions for you. And like,
that.
um, but I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes.